So we'll be sharing that session with those of you who signed up, but also we'll share them in Workplace in the Faculty Development Community of Practice group in Workplace. I'll put that in the chat shortly, just so you have that in case you aren't in that group actively. The other thing I'd ask you to do too, maybe you could do it now, just before I kick it over to Kris, is put your who you are and what campus you're from in the chat, just so we have kind of introductions. There's obviously too many people here to do that with voice, but it'd be good to know the various campuses that are represented here and who you all are. So I think that's all I have for now. Kris, you have co-host privileges now, so you can. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to you, and I'll monitor the chat. You've got the next half hour, and I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kris, and everybody else. Thank you so much for attending. I'm going to be in on everyone else's session as well. But today I wanted to talk about building in that faculty support, building in that administrative support for change. And the inspiration for this, sorry, I'm trying to share my screen. Can we see my PowerPoint? Thank you. And really what inspired this is you guys. So for Corning Community College, I am the director for our version of Center for Professional Development. I am also our EIT officer and our director of online programs. So like many of you that I've seen on screen, or at least seen your name, I'm in the EIT conference meetings, I'm in the Doodle meetings, a lot of SUNY meetings. And one thing that continually comes up with the chat, especially with the changes that are coming, one thing I see consistently is I can't get my administration on board. I can't get my faculty on board. And I know for many of you, I know that, if Buffalo is on here, or Binghamton, I know that there are bigger schools on here. So you may look at some of what I've done and go, yeah, right, I can't do this, but you can on your own scale. So my intention is just to show you some of the things that have been done at CCC from the Center for Teaching Innovation and Excellence that we've done, and we really don't, knock on wood, we aren't experiencing a lot of resistance on really any of the changes that we're going through. So the basics of what we have to deal with as a teaching and learning center are getting that buy-in. So changing an LMS system, we need that buy-in from everybody for it to go smoothly. Technology is changing constantly. Policies are changing. For those of you on Blackboard, you know that there are glitches galore that we need to make people aware of, and hopefully they will roll with the punches with us. Different initiatives, training programs, pilots, you name it, and we kind of have to have their buy-in for it. So how do we get buy-in, especially from faculty, which really moves a lot of things? At Corning, faculty is a huge part of our governance process. So they really are the ones who help in changing policies and things like that. So one of the very first things that was important for me to do, and is important for my colleagues to do, within CTIE, which is our acronym, is definitely boots on the ground. So regardless, whether it's department meetings, division meetings, faculty assembly meetings, and I did this more so when I started 3 years ago, and my other CTIE member is really doing this now that we're back from COVID, and it's proving very fruitful. But we need people to know who we are. So we visit all of these meetings. Faculty Assembly is one of our governance roles, and they have been kind enough to invite us as non-voting members and guests for, I've been here 3 years, so inviting us as guests for at least that long. We, boots on the ground, we know everybody on campus. And again, this may be difficult at a larger campus, but there's so many times that we need to connect faculty and staff with other people. So to get to know people, things that I personally have done is serve on hiring committees, governance committees, other committees on campus. I volunteer for campus events. So next week is our accessibility spelling bee. Very excited to be the judge of that. Let them get to know me, let them get to know, even my colleague is doing this very well. She just started with our department in July, but she's been with the school for a lot longer as an adjunct instructor. But really finding that common ground, and I know it's so difficult to do, but get out of your office. And sometimes we really need that break and we just want to go for a walk. And our campus is so beautiful, but I carry my phone with me everywhere because I get stopped a lot. So this way, if someone stops me, they're like, oh, I have an idea, can we meet about it? I can immediately pull out my phone, pull out my calendar, and make them that appointment that they need. So communication has been huge, and faculty bust on me a lot with emails that I send, and I'm going to talk more about that in feedback. But one thing that I started is MacDonald's Motivational Mondays. So on Mondays, and this was more prevalent prior to the pandemic, was sending out a message on Mondays to the faculty and staff that is half lighthearted with funny memes and comics and stuff like that, and just a way to encourage each other, because faculty and staff, we spend so much time encouraging students, but I wanted to make it important that we motivate each other as well. Other things that I've done to communicate with faculty is create the CTIE webpage, which is full of video tutorials, full of information, links that faculty need, instructional handbooks that the department's written, things like that. And that's going to be undergoing some renovations soon to make it a little bit more organized. I also have a Facebook page, so any events and trainings that are coming up, I can put them out that way as well. I love walking through the halls and waving to faculty when they're teaching, and they always smile and wave back. It's very open communication, so faculty do not hold back, and neither do staff when they're giving me feedback, when they are letting me know issues that they have. And really, we, in teaching and learning centers, we are in a very vulnerable position. So we want students to trust faculty in explaining what they don't know, and that's difficult for students to do. But in a teaching and learning center, now we are asking faculty and staff to be vulnerable enough to admit what they don't know and what they need help with, so that we can help them, and then it'll eventually trickle down to the students. So I've always made sure that communication is honest and transparent, never cruel, but definitely honest, and an open door policy, which sometimes does bite me, because, you know, I want to work on something and get something done, but someone walks in with an issue and my attention turns to them. But that to me is so important in serving faculty and staff. So another piece of communication is just as the LMS administrator, You know, I'm going into classes a lot to fix things or look at something, things like that. And one thing I always make sure that I do, and it's just been a personal ethical philosophy of mine, is I always communicate with the instructor and ask their permission prior to going into their classes. I never want them to feel awkward or anything. And now we're in a rhythm where faculty just tell me right off the bat, yeah, go in the class. Like, I don't even have to ask anymore. Another thing that I have done is, and I haven't had to do this with many people, but is demand respect, because you teach people how to treat you. And I had one faculty member who scheduled appointments with me half days, so 4 hours a day for 5 days in the same week. And they no-showed to all of them. And I sent out an email. Yeah, Dave, I just saw your eyebrows. Yeah, I was not happy, because that was countless number of other people I could have helped. And I expressed that in an email very professionally. And though the instructor was not happy that I stood up for myself and didn't just do their course for them and wanted to actually teach them to have them do it themselves, you know, it was something that needed to be done, because I needed to establish the fact that, you know, my time is valuable as well. So it's not only just giving respect, but asking for it back. And I mean, my crew, I call them, it's weird, because when I was a faculty member, I used to call my students my kids, even though I taught in higher education. And now that I am in this role, I call my faculty my faculty. They think it's cute. Anyway, follow through is another thing that's really important. If any of you are classroom instructors, these slides probably aren't very surprising. But whatever feedback I get from people, I want them to know that they're heard. So I utilize their feedback. So for example, with email, they bust me because I send out so many emails, but underneath the busting and the teasing was some legitimacy. Do I need to send out 10 emails in 5 days, or could I wait and consolidate that information? So I try and consolidate the information where I can. They told me, once I started using bullet points in some of those bigger emails, I got great feedback and great reactions from them. I have always included adjuncts in our emails, but now that my new colleague is involved in the department and she has been an adjunct, we are tailoring how we do emails to adjuncts so that they offer more explanation, since adjuncts sometimes can be a little removed from the rest of the college, but not. So we're doing a little bit more educating in those emails to adjuncts, and I am so grateful to my colleague for that. So in my department, I send out a lot of surveys. I have sent out surveys asking, when do you actually want training to be done? I just most recently did one, it was the faculty technology survey. And this was to find out what modalities faculty would like to teach in, what programs software-wise, what software they're comfortable with, what software they want more training in, what hardware they need in classrooms, and what classrooms they feel need the most work. The survey garnered a lot of responses, and I did the survey in May, and by our startup, which is kind of our initiation to a new semester, I was able to address all of the issues and let them know things that were coming. So when I asked them, when do you want to actually do, you know, professional development week? When do you want to have these things? I listen to them. So I was going to do a summer retreat and people wanted it done in June and in August. So I ran it twice, because why am I going to survey them, but then not listen to their feedback? Because in that case, they're not going to answer in the future because they know I'm not going to go anywhere with it. So for video tutorials, I have had, so this kicked off before COVID and then really went into high gear during COVID, where instead of just sending an email and explaining we have something new, I actually do captioned video tutorials that I send out and post on the CTIE website. So through feedback, found out that they also want written instructions, which is fine. So now I do a little bit of both. When I send an email with a video tutorial, I will also include just step-by-step how to do something, because I've learned that our different divisions respond better. So usually 2 of our divisions, academic divisions, want the video, and my STEM division wants the step-by-step. So I have taken that feedback and done what I can to give them what they need. Follow through, you know, do what you say you will. So I was running, not running, but I was walking through campus, and a faculty member just a couple weeks ago asked if they could have a video on X, and they knew I had done the video, but they couldn't find it. So we made sure we got that sent out to them. If there's any issue, so sometimes I can't follow through with something because I don't have it, or there's a bug, or there's a glitch, but I still make sure that I let them know that. Most times, well, I should say all the time, I get emails asking for something, and it's not handled in my department, but I'm able to make the connection between the person asking the question and the department that helps them, because I was boots on the ground a while ago and involved in committees. So these are the different ways that the department offers help. And again, it's only a team of 2, and it's been a team of 2 since July. Since 2019, it has just been me. So it's been virtual office hours. Since my colleague joined, we created a ticketing system to help keep track of things, and so that the 2 of us can help them faster. Faculty and staff are welcome to make appointments to drop in. We do dedicated training for specialized groups. For, you know, I've done presentations at faculty assembly because it's the easiest way to grab everybody all at once. Of course, there are workshop sessions throughout the entire year, but then there are particular times where we do week-long professional development weeks. It's always the week of startup, break weeks, and then we do things in the summer. Our tendency is to roll things out in phases. So even though at startup, I told them there's all of this technology coming, I'm going to roll it out in pieces. So this way nobody is too overwhelmed all at once. And I constantly let people know if there is a bug, if there's a new change coming, or if something might be held up. And I had mentioned that I call them my faculty. That really ends up meaning that I advocate for them. I mean, and I'm sure there's so many of you who do the same things, but because I work with them in such a different manner than deans do or provosts do or whatever your school structure is, I work with faculty in such a different way that I begin to know their strengths and weaknesses far differently. and advocate for them anywhere that I can. Whoops. So give them the spotlight is something else that we do. When I went through my hiring process, I'll never forget that one person on my hiring committee told me, because one of my ideas was to be able to just pop into a class and observe what was going on. And usually faculty think of observation as like in a critical, critiquing way that would either help them or hurt them for promotions. Whereas I just wanted to sit in and watch what people were doing because I thought it was cool. And when I was being hired, my committee, one person on my committee said, you will never be able to just sit in on someone's class and watch. And that has been completely untrue. I walk in all the time and just watch math classes, or a lot of the times I think faculty are doing something so cool that they told me about, and they're like, yeah, come on, watch. And I get probably more excited than the students do, especially because I don't have to do the homework. The other things that we offer is something called a January retreat. So every January for one day, we run it at our college like a actual conference. There are multiple sessions occurring at the same time, led by other faculty. And I'm also on the board for the CCAT conference, where our instructors present as well. So these are just some photos of times where they've had the spotlight. So I am always bragging about faculty achievements. So on the far left side, we decided from this photo, I don't know if you can see it, the podium with the two gentlemen. The gentleman closest to the podium is my president. And next to him is our former provost, and they are wearing sunglasses that say CTIE celebs, because at startup, we celebrate different faculty and staff who have done awesome things. And this was the first time we did it. So the picture underneath were the faculty all wearing their sunglasses. And then the other images are from the January retreat. And the one in the bottom in the middle where people are like this was one of my favorite sessions. It was a way to do yoga or meditation in the classroom or in your office right before you run to class to teach. So it was really cool. But our sessions our January retreat is probably our most popular of everything except for the professional development week during fall break. Those are our two most popular events. So some of the results that we've experienced, we really haven't gotten much resistance. And even with the biggest change that is coming to many campuses regarding the LMS change, I was really worried to announce this. And once we did, they clapped. I was nervous that it was going to be a lot of resistance, but they were very excited. They had questions, and I made sure that we didn't announce it to faculty until we could address their questions. We work really well with our union leaders. So I'm able to go to them, faculty union. So I'm able to go to our president or chair, or whatever they're called, and our vice president or vice chair of the union, and be able to ask them questions before I do something. And they're willing to help me and work with me so I don't do something that could potentially violate something in the contract. Because even though I read it cover to cover, it's like that thick. We do have high survey response rates from faculty, high professional development attendance. There are a lot of people utilizing the CTIE resources on the website. And there is just this level of mutual trust and rapport that I value so much. So I also just started something new last week. We have Starfish, and some of your campuses might utilize Starfish. And within Starfish, which is a student service platform where you can do early alerts and things like that, there's also a way to give students kudos, and that's what they're called, for work that they're doing. So I started something last week called an employee kudos, because, and I don't want it to be staff versus faculty or anything like that. So that's why it's employee kudos. And my little tagline is, if students can get these, why can't we? And it was just an email with funny, or I thought they were funny, funny categorical labels, and then the highlight of what people were doing. But it didn't have to do with what they were doing in the classroom or what they were doing with their jobs. But one of our professors decided she wanted to enroll in our nursing program and become a nurse. So she is not only teaching full-time, but she's in our nursing program full-time. So that was in there. And so many sides of the coin, that doesn't make any sense because a coin is round, but so many people on campus sent back really, really positive feedback that they enjoyed that. So we're going to keep that going. So I might alter between the motivational Mondays and the employee kudos. But not to say everything in our world is perfect, because it is not. But these are just some things that we have done at Corning to be able to really get people on the bandwagon. And that includes accessibility, having faculty make their own documents accessible. I have many faculty who are obsessed with getting to those super green dials, and they don't like when they're just light green. They've turned it into their own little kind of competition, but I love it. So thank you for listening. I don't even know where I'm at time-wise, so I really hope that I didn't go over on you, Kris.
Yeah, it's perfect. No, because we started a little after 10, so you're probably about 27, 28 minutes. Perfect. So any questions for Kris? You could raise your hand and I'll bring you up to the top there, and you could do it that way, or you could throw it in the chat. It was a nice high-level overview of all the things that you do in your center. So it's good to hear. I mean, I know a lot of us or a lot of you are, directing centers that have a lot of different responsibilities like yours. So I'm sure a lot of folks are interested in hearing how you do it there. So
I see a question in the chat.
Question?
Yes, I know I am a raw numbers woman myself. I did not include raw numbers or rates of attendance because they have been so skewed with COVID. And actually, the professional development that I did in 2020 was the highest. So I've actually noticed and made some changes to how I present workshops. So for example, when we first, it was March 2020, when we converted to all online, our faculty found out about 2 days prior to flipping over. So I had, and at that point I had a lot of faculty not even using our LMS. So I had to teach them the LMS before I could teach them about teaching online. And I ran a week-long series about how to, work on Blackboard. And I had a couple hundred people in those sessions because they really, really needed that. However, that same May, because we really hadn't had any professional, well, we did do professional development, but not specific sessions. I did an accessibility week, but it was the first time that our faculty had gotten like 2-3 days to breathe because we compressed our schedule. We didn't do any breaks because we wanted the students off campus before flu season and things like that. So I tried to do a virtual accessibility week, May of 2021. Nobody showed up. And that was when I chose to cancel it and then do the videos and send them out. That got far more viewings than doing that accessibility week. Yeah, things are definite. I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to jump all over you. I'm just kind of used to this.
John's question. You see John's question? How you decide times for offerings?
Yeah, these are all over the map. And you know what? You're never going to please everybody. And so what I have started doing is to pick the most popular times and then record what I'm doing and offer it virtually as well. And I caption it and I pop it on the CTIE website. So this way, if people can't attend in person, they can still at least get the tips and suggestions. And in August, I did the professional development week leading up to startup, and I didn't record any of the sessions. And people were like, "What do you mean you didn't record them?" So I guess I have to go back to doing that. I did see Athena's hand up. Does she still have a question? Because I think I kind of talked around her actual answer.
Robin's actually got her hand up right now. Robin, go ahead.
Okay, hi. Thank you very much, Chris. It was great information. I love the website for your center and especially the page Faculty to Faculty Help. I can see a few of the presentations and some I guess we do need to get access to, but can you talk about what's on that page and how you've managed to encourage your faculty to create help documents for their colleagues?
Yeah, sure. I didn't even realize you guys would.
I popped it in the chat because someone asked for it, so I just searched it up.
Thanks. Well, I'm like, let me open it and let me show you what's there. So it depends. I do have a variety of different pages there for faculty. The faculty to faculty help was something that started, but I haven't really pushed recently, unfortunately. So it does need to be revisited. I'm sure you guys all ran into the same situation during COVID where things kind of dropped off because you needed to deal with what was most important at that point of time. So here is our webpage, and I know, please don't yell at me, EIT people, for the red, but it's the only color I was able to get on this. So this is a Google site. This is our homepage. There is important news, so things that are happening. So important news is blank right now, at least it should be unless it calls me a liar. But it mostly had a lot of information regarding COVID. Blackboard support has different drop downs. So it's different videos, self-help. So the self-help documents, those are those step-by-step documents with images. Teaching online is not only how do I teach online, but all of the videos that go along with teaching online. So you can kind of see the table of contents. There's SUNY's online teaching tips. I've also created an ADA compliant syllabus so that this way everybody can just utilize that and definitely make sure that they are ADA compliant in their classes, types of students. I also did syllabus statements, but I actually linked them into Blackboard so faculty can take that link and pop it right into their classes. Video help is the and most visited spot, and this is the page I really need to clean up. but we are currently switching our, we're switching from Ensemble to Usia. So I don't want to change this yet because all of the video links are going to change. So this is a mishmash of a variety of different things. So how to use ReadSpeaker, how to utilize, and I have to be careful how I name these things because I don't want to say using the Ensemble Chrome extension, because I have so many who wouldn't know what a Chrome extension is. Basics of Google Hangouts. There's just a lot of them in here. So this is why usually most people are just send me an email going, can you please just send me the video? And then I have a lot more. So how does proctoring and captioning work? There's a whole accessibility page. So that accessibility week that I was talking about is on here. The Oscar rubric and all of the different elements that someone would need for accessibility are on there. You specifically asked about the faculty to faculty help. So this, I have 2 more videos to add to this, but I'm questioning whether I want to add them yet because they are about Blackboard. So this is something that unfortunately I guess these links are a little dead. Sorry, Robin.
Just a recent change in some of the Google permissions, but the concept
Yes.
I'm loving and want to hear more about.
We actually just updated our Google license and not everybody has permission, just me. So I thought they'd work. What did you specifically want to hear more about? I'm sorry.
How do you convince faculty to create a help doc to share on your website?
So what most of these are PowerPoints that faculty created for the January retreats. And I pop them in here. Some of them, so for example, the 2 that I'm considering whether I want to put on here or not, since faculty know I make these videos so much, I actually have 2 faculty, one who sent me a video on how to create groups. I think it's within Blackboard to help with group work. And then I had another faculty member who made a video on how to use Blackboard Annotate a little bit quicker in the gradebook. And they sent me a copy and went, here, just in case anybody else could use it, it saves you time from making the video. So I really don't know how. I don't ask them for it. Definitely when we do the January retreat and things like that, faculty, whoever presents wants to send me the information. And I think because they know the website's here, like for the development week we just did in August, I just got some guides from one of the presenters. So I will put them on the website. And even during their presentation, they flat out said, I'm going to send these to Kris so she could put them on the CTIE website. So now I just have to find where they go and send them off. So I don't know.
That's wonderful. Great concept. And faculty just love learning from each other. So, I think it just gets a little bit higher consideration. Oh yeah, my colleague did that.
Yes. And that's why if I get anything that another faculty member made, yeah, I'm going to be popping that in and highlighting that definitely, because they don't always want to hear me squawk. I'm sick of hearing my own voice. So plus it saves me time because then I don't have to make the videos.
Athena had her hand up, but it looks like she had to take off. There's some good stuff in the chat there. And Oneontas also asks faculty to share things that they're doing, and Dave as well, finding faculty who Power uses for specific applications to create videos. Yeah, paying it forward. Anybody else have questions, or again, feel free to raise your hand and speak up or put in the chat. And if you don't have any other questions for Kris directly, if you have any general questions or things you want to throw out to the group, we have about 15 minutes left here. We have some time. what's going on? I mean, how are things? And, I know that we hope the semester would be a little more quote unquote normal, but we know that that just isn't the case. So I'm really curious how you're all doing out there.
Yeah, to answer or comment on David's message, yeah, there are definitely some power users who I test things out on, and they make videos. They love it. And yes, I did say that right now we are a crew of 2 as of July, and for 2 years prior to that was just me.
Anybody doing anything in person right now, or is everything still in Zoom? See a couple of heads nodding. So what's that look like? How are you doing that? Yeah, go ahead.
We've been offering and we haven't had takers. So we're doing a book club though at the end of the month, and people are planning on attending that in person, or at least they've said they are. So, but yeah, so hybrid. We're offering everything in sort of like a hybrid flex format, like attend on Zoom or in person. And so far, everything has just been Zoom.
Rose asked, what's your book for the book club?
We're doing geeky pedagogy.
Ah, good choice. If anybody doesn't know, Jessamine Newhouse from Plattsburgh, that's her book. Is Jessamine here? Yeah, so I'm curious too. So I don't know. I mean, you could speak to this, Brandon, or anybody else could. I mean, one of the things that, before the pandemic, when I was at Brockport, we tried to, do that where we bring a faculty in via, probably back then it was Collaborate. And it just always was a little awkward because, at the time, especially talking years ago, the connections weren't that great. It was hard to hear the people who are remote. Are you bringing them in just like in your space on, video screen? Is that how you're doing it? Or is everybody on laptops? How are you doing that?
So we were actually doing this before the pandemic even, and generally like people who were on, so we were kind of like probably more room centric. So it's going to be interesting as, we probably have fewer people in a room in more of these cases. But what we would do is we'd have sort of laptop on the screen with presentation going out to like Zoom or Collaborate, or whatever it was at the time. But we have like a Polycom phone, and so we'd use that for the audio. So you sort of put that central into our space, and so that way whoever was online could talk and everybody in the room could hear them, and then also they could hear pretty much everything that was said in the room.
Chilton's good.
Yeah, we've been doing similar on our campus. So we've been starting to have some things where it's we do 50-50 in person and online. And I'm with you, Brandon. More people are coming online, but we have a speakerphone that goes in the center of the room, and allow that. We found that's been the best way to have it set up so everybody can hear each other and really interact in the best way.
Sorry, I cut somebody else off. Who was that?
That was me. I was going to say, we've been doing the same thing where we offer things in person and virtually, and we're seeing about an even split, because for those people who are sick of Zoom, they just want to be in person. And we actually utilize webcams. So we offer a session. The virtual session is through Zoom or through Google Meet, because we're a Google campus. And they sign on, and then we present through Google Meet, so everybody's seeing the same things in the classroom. And then when they want to talk, they just talk.
It carries comment there. It is sometimes hard for those who are in, especially now everyone's masked inside, that it does present some issues with hearing those folks for those who are remote. Yeah.